Hello everyone, welcome. Gosha here. Today I'm talking about dealing with criticism as a highly sensitive person, as an INFJ, INFP personality type, someone who has a lot of sensitivity to being judged, being criticized, being invalidated. So if that's you, you're going to find a lot of ideas why you as a highly sensitive person are so crushed by criticism or judgment or something like that. And the word crushed I use very specifically because something like that I hear a lot of. So sensitive people that tell me that they are reacting in such way to criticism, they will always say, I feel crushed by the criticism that I received at work, or I was paralyzed by this judgment that this person gave me. And all these kind of words that express like extremely high reaction to judgment, to criticism, to someone invalidating their efforts, right? And this really made me want to record this video because I remember that I once also was that person, and I can talk from this point of view of having dealt with it in the past and knowing where that comes from and how was I able to not have any kind of reaction to criticism whatsoever. So first of all, I want to start by saying that highly sensitive people and the most sensitive people have in their childhood experience a sort of merging with others. From very early on, highly sensitive people act as a sort of extension to other people because they are so sensitive. They are so in tune with what everyone is feeling, what everyone needs, what they're expecting, what are they're disappointed about, and all these kind of things are all the time on their mind. They have this built-in radar that tells them that someone is disappointed, someone is unhappy, and oftentimes they take it very personally. They take it very personally for all the reasons a child in that stage of development is taking things personally, because a child believes the world revolves around them. It's literally that stage of development when we as little kids, we think that everything happens because of us, and it's something we do, right? Because our world is so tiny and that's all we know. And because of this very close attachment to everyone's moods, feelings, and a state of being happy or disappointed about the situation, they put a lot of stock into trying to make people happy. And very many highly sensitive people will have also that experience of having to take care of adults' feelings in their life. So they become the sort of adult to adults, right? They sort of take care of everyone else when they as children should have been taken care of. And they start playing these roles of taking responsibility for everyone's feelings, for everyone's moods, and start playing these important roles in people's lives. And therefore, because of the things I just explained, they identify with it because they treat this so personally. So energetically, they act literally like an extension, like an addition to that person. And many highly sensitive people, they see themselves through serving others, through helping, through playing all kinds of functions, roles, solving other people's problems. Their identity is literally shaped by what they can do for others. And that's why so many of highly sensitive people are people pleasers, they're perfectionists, they end up being exhausted, taken advantage of, and all these things that also kind of point to the lack of boundaries, lack of energetic boundaries that have never had a chance to fully develop because they were so in tune, so constantly zoned into other people's worlds, their emotions, what they're going through, and all that stuff. And because no one really teaches them how to act otherwise, how to develop that autonomy and self-sovereignty, they continue doing that all the way through childhood, teenagehood, and into adulthood. And maybe some of you have rebelled, maybe some of you had a phase when you were like, no, I'm not doing that and all that. But there is this energetic connection that makes you so vulnerable to being in tune with so many people. And this is one of the things that so many highly sensitive people will also explain as they're constantly overwhelmed in the presence of other people. So much so that they cannot feel what they feel because what others are feeling is too big in their mind's eye, too big in their awareness than what they can feel within themselves. So these are all very much energetic topics that I constantly work with, and these are the topics I've developed based on my own experience when I couldn't untangle myself from others and were constantly going into these sort of dynamics of codependency, serving, pleasing, trying to get validation from them, trying to impress people, or maybe when I wasn't going to impress them as in the typical terms, I wanted sort of kind of fall into their graces with regards to getting their help, maybe helping me achieve what they've achieved or something like that. And it may seem like we are doing this innocently, and we do because it's really in our unconscious mind. What we do is really energetic kind of merging that we do, but it's the only way some of you can manipulate others to get what you want. And it's not the manipulation like narcissistic or something like that. It's sort of act as in a way that others might be influenced by it. So you might act like a chameleon to please others. So you will be everything and anything like that other people might want from you. And that means with all these kind of roles where you play that devil's advocate to justify everyone's actions, justify everyone's emotions, even if they're hurting you, even if someone's doing something against you, it might be that you're still going to justify them because they had this trauma, because they've gone through this, or maybe there is another reason why they're behaving such way. And highly sensitive people are almost never on their own side. That boundary is so blurry. All the time I'm just pointing you to that energetic fluidity that is almost like you're an air. You're an air that people are breathing. You're just like adapting yourself to what everyone needs and wants. So that could happen also, of course, in a workplace. It can happen in a school, or when you are a mother or a father, and then you become so entrenched and so absorbed and so invested in the function that you're performing, that you identify with it so much. Again, is that same identification we develop in childhood that makes us sort of disappear as a person, as an autonomous person. We become that function. So when later someone criticizes what you do, it is so overwhelming and it's so impossible not to take that criticism not personally, because you're so identified with the function, with the role, with the act of serving others. Highly sensitive people very often see themselves as that, literally. So if someone comments negatively on what you're doing, it just hits so personally, because it literally undermines the whole existence with all that self-sacrifice that you might be putting in, all that effort, all that exhaustion, because most of the times to serve others, to give all that autonomy and become that extension, we all had to sacrifice what is important for us. And like I started saying, when you are in the presence of others and you feel overwhelmed by their emotions, it's almost impossible to feel your own emotions. And that's why whenever you are amongst others with their expectations, with their agendas, with their feelings, with their moods, maybe with their manipulations, or their emotional blackmails trying to put on you because they know that they can push those buttons and they can just make a frown on their face, or sulk a little bit, and off you go, already helping them, or just that guilt or maybe that responsibility might immediately have you do whatever they wanted. If that's you, if some of this resonates, I really empathize, because I know how hard it is to get out of this entanglement. And helping people in such way, being a people pleaser, maybe you've noticed it is never helpful for neither of the sides, not for you, not for that other person, because by doing that, we are always enabling them to not take care of their part. If we're always running to save them, they will never be resourceful enough or feel like they can do it. They will always be complacent and just like, oh, she will take care of it, or he will help me out, or he will save me again. I can just do whatever I want, and that person will come and fix it, or like they always do. So, like I say, these behaviors are only adding to problems on both sides. And talking about criticism and judgment from all sides, that undermines the very sense of being, the very sense of existence, hits right on the topic of invalidation that I talk a lot about, and I'm writing a book about this. But just very quickly, you have to understand that when you are seeking validation through these actions, through pleasing, through helping, through being super conscientious in your work, or giving 150% out of you and always making sure that you are perfect, that you are a good person, that you are a good boy, good girl, and all that stuff, good employee, then most of the time, like I said, you're self-sacrificing. You're sacrificing your resources, time, your energy, maybe your emotions, maybe some of your values, because someone wants you to do something that you don't exactly want, but you will agree just not to offend them. And all these things happen for what? Just to get a little bit closer to a person, just to get a little bit of sense of belonging, just a little bit of acknowledgement, just a little bit of being more seen, acknowledged, or praised, or appreciated, right? And when you give that power to another person to validate you, to compliment you, to praise you, to acknowledge you, you at the same time are giving them an enormous power to invalidate you, to undermine you, to put you down. You see how one cannot go without the other. And the way we know people, no one will always be happy. Even the most happy person, they will one day have a mood, or one day they will just sulk, or one day they will be disappointed. So there is no way you can always please everyone and in every way. So doing all these things not only is exhausting your energy, making you vulnerable to having self-worth sort of dictated by others people's moods, their emotions, their satisfaction. It starts telling literally something about you, but you are also letting them play with entire sense of self, because this is what happens when we are so invested in these functions that we pay to other people and these roles that we play. If you have no autonomy, no sense of self as it is, I can disagree with everyone, like in a group, like I have this opinion and I'm happy with everyone saying something else, or I feel such way and it doesn't matter if everyone says I'm crazy or I'm making it up or something like that. This is how I feel, and you better all deal with it. Shut your mouth, because this is where I come from. And you don't even have to communicate this, because when you validate yourself, it's like you also give right to others have their own truth. So you have your own truth, you know, you're performing your role in the way you do, you're perfectly happy with it, and you think, well, it's a decent level of doing this. I know I'm not perfect. I know I'm not going to reach any level of perfection, because that's just nonsense. No one is perfect anyway. So I'm just content with knowing that I'm conscientious, because most of highly sensitive people are. Or you can have a different conversation, but when you validate yourself, that conversation will be a whole lot different. And in this sort of situation, criticism of these people cannot really touch you so much. You can still be empathetic and you are still compassionate when you validate what you are doing, what you are feeling, what you represent, what are your opinions, right? So if someone invalidates your opinion, or if someone criticizes what you're doing, or if someone criticizes your goals or your desires, maybe you're opening your own business and all your friends are saying, what are you thinking you're going to do? You have no skills, or, you know, what are you thinking of yourself? Are you better than us? Blah, 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 whatever they're coming up with. If you know that this is your passion and you're giving your best shot, that's enough. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to prove them. You can just focus all that energy on what you're doing. Because as opposed to pleasing and playing life through their roles and through being the extension to other people, you are so invested in reaching that validation. When you are able to let that go, all of a sudden you reclaim that energy. You stop being so exhausted, because you can focus that energy on literally what you're doing. So in that instance of maybe starting your own business little by little, you can put all that energy on, you know, just taking steps within this, making your website, creating an offering, or painting those paintings that you want to sell, or writing those short stories that you want to promote, right? And just focus on these steps, rather than identifying with maybe being a perfect mother. Oh, a perfect mother cannot act in such way. She cannot do this. Or if I'm a perfect employee, I cannot say no to my boss, because he will criticize me, and maybe he will not think I'm so great, or maybe whatever, you know, he will be disappointed, and then he will say how disappointed he is, right? By my not staying over time or something like that. So you see, all that energy flows back to you, and as much as you cannot please everyone else, it's okay, just do whatever you're doing imperfectly and focus on yourself. So this is one of the ways you can pull that energy, become full of it, so that it can serve you. So I hope this is helpful, because all these things are really connected to mind, body, and energy, mind, body, and spirit. When you are also placing more attention on yourself. You are more in tune to how you feel rather than constantly focusing on others. So it's really important that you are reclaiming that sense of autonomy that maybe you've never developed, that actually unconsciously it creates a lot of stress, it creates a lot of overwhelm, exhaustion, and of course, problems with boundaries are a huge source of most of the challenges that highly sensitive people go through. So if this is something that interests you, I have a guide, a free guide for all my newsletter subscribers that is called Stress Resolution Guide for Highly Sensitive People. And there I also explain all these ways we can untangle ourselves from other people, how we can reclaim our boundaries, how we can ground ourselves in our body rather than just being constantly scattered. And one of the techniques I share is something you can do it even in the group, the self-regulation technique. You can do it not waiting when you're alone at home, close the door or something like that. You can do it when you're at work, when you're grocery shopping in the evening and there's plenty of people. You can do this wherever you are. So if you want to understand a little bit more and exactly how to do it and how to prevent stress and overwhelm, I recommend that you get that PDF guide from the link that is in the description of this episode. It's a free guide. Like I say, you're not losing anything. You will just receive a bunch of helpful information that I send also to highly sensitive people regarding mind, body, and energy, and how you can resolve some of the challenges as a highly sensitive person. Now, I hope that was helpful. Do let me know if you have any questions or comments. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.